Happiness is freedom. Freedom is having the choice to spend your time doing things that inspire you. Most people want freedom, but many people don't have a clear objective, a roadmap, or a strategy to achieve it. Everyone deserves to live an inspired and free life. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on our most meaningful work, we simply become better human beings. We can give more, care more, support more, and love more. I'm an investor, a trader, and an entrepreneur, and I get to spend every day doing what I love. At the age of 29 years old, I became financially free, and since then my mission has been to help and inspire other people to achieve the same so that they can be more of who they really want to be. Always Free is about having a free mind, being free to question the status quo, free to take risks, free to say no, free to say yes, free from social idealisms, opinions and beliefs, free to disobey, and free to wake up every day and spend your time to make a difference that inspires you. You can have it all. Living a life designed by you isn't a stroke of luck or a result of circumstance. It's a choice. So if you want to learn how to become free and live an inspired life, join me for the #1 show for financial empowerment and wealth creation as I share my insights, tips, strategies and advice on what allowed me to be always free. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Well, welcome back to the show. Hope you've had a nice week so far. We're back from, last week we didn't do a show, I was traveling, I was out of the country, but the week before that we had a great feedback from when I had Dan on the sofa, so that was fantastic. And we're back, that's the main thing, and I got some nice water. Hope everyone's doing well. Who's here? All the gang, Robbie, Neil, who we got? Frank, Chris finally made it to a show. Julie says, I'm always here. Amazing. Appreciate you, Julie. Evening, Jason, everyone. Robbie, Neil, Georgina Harrison. Amazing. Daniel McGuinness, looking forward to this episode. Michael Canavan's in the house. Look, it's great to have you all here, guys. I just want to start talking about Daniel Jesse, Eddie McLaughlin. What I want to talk about today is I want to keep the theme of income going because I got a question. I was inspired to do a podcast on this particular topic earlier on today as well. So for those of you who listen to the podcast as well, you'll get, if you're double dipping, you would have caught some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight in the podcast. But I will be showing some diagrams, some illustrations, give you some visuals as well, which was really the purpose of this show, because it started with a newsletter. That was all visual. And then we went to the podcast, which is all audio. And the purpose of this show is you get a mix of the both, which really, hits home. Some people understand things in different ways and different formats. So the more I can say the same thing in a slightly different way or deliver it in a certain different medium, more of it's going to stick, right? So that's the goal. So, got everyone here. So what I want to talk about, by the way, before I get into the show, I must remember to say thanks for all the feedback on the podcast. 100 episodes last week. I'll give myself one of those. 100 episodes of Always Free, which was incredible. I did a special little kind of reminiscent episode where I spoke about my learnings, what insights I'd gained over my 10 years of financial freedom, and it seemed to be well received. You guys were sending me some congratulations and some great messages as well. So thank you, thanks for that. I can't thank you enough. So, topic of tonight's show, I want to talk about income growth again, okay? Because income, or an income, is the lifeblood of financial freedom. So, not that you have to have a lot of it, because you don't, but you need an income stream, okay? And it really is the lifeblood. It's the liquidity. That's the income into the system, into the machine to make it all work properly. And I talk about this a lot. And it's a very common topic that we go into around people who know they've got more in them, okay? And they know they're destined for more, and they've maybe been working their way up in a corporation or an industry or a job, and the job doesn't quite tick all the boxes. So let me know if that's you. Let me know if you're in that position, if you're in a job, doesn't quite tick all the boxes. If you're in a business, you've worked your way up a little bit into the business and it's not quite doing it for you. Let me know if you're one of those, if you're in that situation. Let me know in the chat, and give the video a like as well, just so I know. But the thing is, the only reason that it doesn't tick all the boxes, the only reason anything in your life doesn't tick all the boxes is if it's restricting your spirituality, okay? So you're not spiritually free, you can't express who you are and you're trying to be someone else. If you're not mentally free, which means you're being psychologically pushed around and bullied by other people, or if you're not space free or time free, okay? So if you're in a cubicle office, you don't feel free. If you can't dictate your own times and you're not mobile and flexible, you don't feel free. And the whole time you've got any of those, you'll have a slight resentment towards what it is you're doing. So those are the principles of always free. Always free is about being free in those three areas, those four areas. Usually jobs or corporations or big organizations or a job that even someone else started the company, which is usually their dreams and their freedom, it doesn't tick all the boxes for you. It's missing one or two, which then creates this need for escapism. Anyone feel that? How you doing? Great stuff, great stuff. And that's really all it boils down to, okay? So what I want to talk about first is kind of the common trap that I've seen, because I've worked with some, PhDs. I've worked with some real phenomenal people who have followed this route and got a bit trapped. And the common trap is, well, let's start with a question, okay? So the question this week, question of the week is kind of, how can I start a side hustle if I have a job? And that's really what this whole episode is going to be geared around, sharing with you what I think. But I do want to start with the trap, okay? I want to start with the trap. First of all, if you're asking that question, congratulations. Like, that means that obviously you guys are here. You're the type of people that are watching this type of content. You get it, right? You're already thinking that way. So congratulations. Like, that's most people don't even think about it. Most people don't even think about it. They just settle into the old ways. We've always done it this way, and life happens to them, and they plod along and plod along and plod along, and then they're the people that have the midlife crisis. They wake up one day and go, crap, I haven't done anything I want to do. I've not had the choice, so I'm going to go and do me now, and they go off the rails. So most people don't do that, okay? Most people who decide to start a business are in a current employment, and that's perfectly normal. I started a business when I was in employment, and most people do that. So that's not abnormal, and if you're in an employment, that's pretty much how everyone starts a business. Everyone starts a business when they're employed, unless they're a kind of unicorn business that starts in a dorm room at Harvard or something like that. I don't know if we've got any Harvard grads here, but I don't know, let me know. But there is a common problem, and it is a mind problem, it is a mindset problem, where people think that in order to start a business on the side, first of all, the first problem they think of is they need more money to make money. They need money to make money. Okay, so I'm not even talking about the doubt of the actual business now. I'm just saying the first thing they think of is, I need money to make money, and that is totally wrong. And I'm going to ask you a question. Could you make more money in your existing job without more money? Because the answer is yes, right? You don't need more money in your existing job to make more money. So you don't need more money to make money elsewhere. So I just want to get that out of the way, because that's a very common one that comes up. You don't need money to make money, right? Secondly, when they get into the way of thinking where they want to start a business, they think that if they could just get a promotion at their job and get paid more, then they'd be in a better position to start their business. And that is absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. That is the biggest trap. Okay? They start thinking, I'm going to earn more, and I'll be okay. I'll be able to start my own business. That is wrong. Complete trap. I've seen this happen so many times. Instead of thinking about getting more money at your existing job, think about getting more time. Okay? More time. And I speak a lot about being more efficient in your job and understanding delegation. Great, that's one thing. But also, overtime. Don't do it, right? Don't let people keep you there longer than you need to be if you're looking to start a side hustle. Don't give more time to the job than you need to. Start thinking about getting away and getting more time from the job. Make sense? I've also spoken about controlling your finances. So this is a great thing that you should be doing anyway. If you're thinking about starting a side hustle, controlling your finances, that buys you time as well, right? It's essential for starting your business on the side to have some flexibility and a cash cushion there so that you can go and you don't have that animal brain. You've not got that talking in the back of your head going, you're going to run out of money. You can't eat. That's not going to help you. Right? So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that there is two ladders. Okay? This is the analogy that I give. And the two ladders look like this. So you got ladder A, which is where you want to go, your legacy, your business, your side hustle, okay, that you're planning on climbing. And ladder B is your current job or your organization, okay, that you're thinking about climbing up to get a promotion. The thing is, the higher you get on ladder B, it makes it very difficult to then climb down and then go and climb ladder A because you're already way up ladder B. So what you want to do is you want to get down from ladder B and then start climbing up ladder A as quickly as possible and as consistently as possible. Make sense? Right. And the way you do this is to free up more time, not to earn more money and put in extra hours or getting another job. Right? People who've got that approach, they end up as absolute slaves to the organization. They end up applying that same principle to their own business when they start one. They become a slave to their business, and that causes resentment as well. I've seen that happen many a time. They do all the work and they have even less time. So the key is to get down from ladder B and start climbing ladder A. All right? The people that get caught in the trap, the people that go up ladder B, they get caught in a trap. And before I go into kind of what I call the capping out process, let's talk about expenses. The first thing they do, let's just say they earn 50 grand a year or 40 grand a year, 30 grand a year, whatever it is. If you're not good with your expenses, okay, most people spend 123% of their earnings. So more than they earn, basically, right? So you're probably just under or over your annual salary is your living expense cost. Now, if you go and climb ladder B and you get a pay rise and you get more responsibilities, you're going to go and increase your income, but you'll have less time. And not only that, you will more likely increase your living expenses, which I've spoken about many, many times before on this show, in my podcast, in the newsletter. Right? You might get a better car, bigger house, you might get another loan, a store card, you might join another health club, whatever it might be, but you'll be raising your lifestyle too quickly. And the reason you raise it too quickly is because you're resentful for putting in all the time here for someone else. And you want escapism, as I said at the beginning. You want to get away and do something, and you polarize. You go, right, I need to escape, I need to do me. Then you kind of recharge yourself back to go and jump on their bandwagon and live their life and work for them. And then you need escapism again. And it's forever this fluctuation between the two, which you don't want. That's not ideal. right? Who's done that? Who has like Friday, can't wait to get out of this hellhole and I can't wait to go and do me for a couple of days. And then you have to kind of really charge yourself up on a Sunday. Neil says, 15 years in a job with low prospect for advancement and 6 days a week, long hours, 54 plus a week. Had enough of doing it this way. Thanks to your wisdom and advice, I'm looking to change that. Amazing, Neil. Look, I want to talk a little bit about that as well in just a moment. But if you are raising your living expenses with your income and you're working for someone who, you know, in an environment that doesn't really inspire you or, you know, fulfill your needs, let's say, you're going to raise your income, but you're in danger of turning up your treadmill and being no better off in terms of you were before you got the promotion, right? The main difference is now you've got to go and work harder and longer, and most importantly, in a stressed state. Now, there's obviously exceptions to certain organizations and promotions that allow you to have more flexible time at home and all that kind of stuff. But I think people mistake that as well. It don't take long for bosses and managers to see where the effort's being made, and sometimes that can backfire as well. Now, I want to talk about the capping out effect, because this is what I've seen happen to people. I've seen people literally admitted to hospital because this is a common trap. In organizations and corporations, a lot of the time you will see there is a cap out. So the pay increase is linear, right? So the pay, what do I mean by that? The pay increase is linear. So you might go 25 grand, then you get a promotion to 28 grand, and then you go from 28 grand to 35 grand, and then from 35 grand to 42 grand, and then 42 to 50, and 50 to 60, and so on and so on and so on. And it's very, very linear, okay? So it's a very linear pay increase. But the cap out is because the pressure on that linear growth on you and your time commitment is exponential. You lose fair exchange with the business, and what happens is the rate of your resentment is also exponential as a result of that. So what people usually do in that situation is they think about a promotion, then they feel, oh, that's a bit of a pinch. I'm actually going to step back and just stay where I am. So then they don't do anything because they're stuck. They don't want to move up in the business. They can't start the side hustle. And they're in this cycle where it's just a rut. It's basically a rut. And they know that they're going to do something, but they don't quite know how to get out of it, right? Who's had that here? Single dad, says Chris. There is no do me. 7.5 ton multi-drop driver supplying retail and catering trade. Awesome. All right. So they don't bother, right? And then the people that do go for it, they end up in rehab. I know a lady who ended up in rehab, very powerful, and she ended up having a breakdown. So my advice in terms of that is, instead of going for money and more money in your current employment, go for more time. Always go for time. That will allow you to get off the ladder B and start climbing up ladder A. All right? Never do overtime, never do any of that stuff. Just start focusing on how you can get off of that. The next thing I want to talk about is the money side. So cash buffers. Obviously, I told you guys to build 6 months living expense cash buffer. That's common knowledge now. If you have that, you have the creativity. What happens is you create a buffer, your brain is calm, and there's an exponential growth in your income. And when there's an exponential growth in your income because you're a different person, and this is going to help with your business, right? I'm not talking about your corporation or your job. You get more creativity, which creates more income. When you have the buffer there, you have new ideas. You think different ways. You come up with different ideas. You attack challenges a different way. And when you do that, you inevitably create income because you're thinking outside the box. You're no longer in the box. And this happens, I've seen this happen so much. I have so much confidence in this cash cushion because I've seen what it does. So that's nothing new to you. So what I want to talk about is perfection now, because the next reason is people say, oh, well, I don't know, it has to be perfect. They wait for all the green lights to go green before they leave their house to go to work. And of course, if you did that, you'd never get to work. So when people ask me how I deal with perfectionism, the reason I don't struggle with perfectionism or even think about it is because I never, ever try to be perfect. Never. My philosophy on this is, in order to get to where you want to go, it's best to start rather than wait for perfection first. Perfection doesn't actually exist, because all perfection is a fantasy in your head of what something could look like. That's it. That's all perfection is. It is a made up thing. It's a fantasy in your head of what you imagine something could look like. And it's always changing. The dynamics change, the landscape changes, that perfection changes. But the best work comes from implementation and then continuous improvement. Implementation, then continuous improvement. You guys heard of Kaizen? Continuous improvement, that is it. You just start, you keep working on it, you tweak it, right? So a lot of people are fearful for putting out their work on any kind of way, like a blog or anything like that. And I'm telling you now, a non-perfect blog is better than no blog. A non-perfect YouTube video is better than no YouTube video. A non-perfect podcast is better than no podcast on iTunes, right? This show, a non-perfect produced show, which obviously this is, I'm just kidding, but a non-perfect show is better than no show going out there. Look how many people we get here every week, right? It's great. It's amazing. It's amazing. So although I rock up here, sometimes the screen goes black, sometimes something doesn't work, sometimes the sound doesn't go wrong, sometimes it cuts me off, sometimes you can hear my teeth clunking on the glass, but guess what? It's out there. The show's working. It's doing something, and then we can tweak it, and I can stop slurping, right? You get the point. In order to master anything in life, you need to start and then work on it every day. That's it. That is the key to life. There you go. You heard it on Always Free. But nothing I have ever done or will ever do will be perfect, ever. Perfection does not exist. All right? You are never going to get everything tied up in a lovely red bow. The bow will always be a bit tatty in your eyes. And at best, you just have to have the bow there ready and be able to do it up and then undo it 1,000 times and then do it up and undo it 1,000 times. But most importantly, enjoy learning and innovating and the growing process of doing that. So I just want to give a big shout out at this point. Evening, Tony. Evening, Michael. I just want to give a big shout out at this point to a very, very close friend of mine who inspired this topic today. And without mentioning names, you know who you are. I just want to say, I love you. Thank you. Many people will find this valuable, and I hope you people listening to this who are in this situation take this away and do something with it. I really, really do. But what do I mean by the bow and the tatty bow and criticised in your eyes? Look at the iPhone. The first iPhone. Who had the first iPhone? Who had the first iPhone? It was crap, right? It was ugly. The battery died very, very quickly. You'd have to charge it every hour. It was terrible. The second iPhone was better than the first one. The third one was incrementally better. And then the sixth one was incrementally better. And the iPhone 12, now everyone's like, what's the difference? What's the difference between the iPhone? Like, they're just selling us the same thing because it's such incremental changes, tweaks each and every day that make that thing better. But if you compare the iPhone 12 to the iPhone 4, you're going to see a huge difference, a huge innovation, and so on and so on and so on, right? I'm sure that when people at Apple look at the iPhone 3, I'm sure there's parts of that phone that make them cringe a little bit. There's videos that I look back at that I think I cringe at. But if it wasn't for that video, I wouldn't have been able to get the video looking like this. And now this I'm criticizing and trying to make better. So if Apple wanted a perfect product before they launched, they would never launch. They'd still be working on improving the phone, right? But they just launch and then they improve the phone. Then they innovate. Make sense? Kaizen, you know, Tony. Remember the brick? Yeah, I had a Nokia 5110. Who had one of those? I had like the coloured aerial that flashed up and all the hologram and stuff, coloured buttons. So look, my advice on perfection is forget perfection. Instead, start, test, get feedback, assess, improve, and then go again. And that is a continuous cycle forever. If you wait for it to be perfect, you'll be a nobody with a lot of ideas in your head. And your ideas are crap if they're not out there. That brings me on to the next point, ideas. Ideas are the next hurdle because people think they have to create some revolutionary idea. You don't. You don't have to be an inventor. Everyone has value inside of them. Everyone has knowledge. Everyone has insights in their job or their field. Everyone's overcome a challenge of some sort or an obstacle or got around a situation or even created solutions and systems. Everyone has asked themselves, and let me know if you've asked this as well, I don't know why they do it that way. It's so back to front. Who said that in their job or their organisation? Evening, Jason. Thanks for the show, doing back testing, listening to you in the background. Perfect combination. Appreciate you being here, man. Who said that? Right? I don't know why they do it that way. It's crazy. So back to front. Well, look, here's a sad thing. Most people stop at that question. And they, instead of asking all the questions that I just mentioned about themselves on how I would do it, you know, and base it on your obstacles that you've overcome and the things you've learned and asking those questions, they stop there. And that's it. And that's a tragedy, really. That's a tragedy. You know, all you have to do is go, what mistakes could I save them on? How could I help someone get a result for faster or cheaper or both? How can I make this more efficient or more effective? How could I package this up and how could I present it to someone that really wants it? And there's a series of questions that you can ask yourself. Actually, I'll be doing this at the boot camp next week. I'll be literally doing this at the boot camp. If you guys want tickets for this, you go to this website here. Right, and I'll be doing this with people in my boot camp next week for 3 days, and you'll be creating an income stream. So go and get a ticket. I'll put the link in the description of this as well. Right, so next thing I want to talk about is planning. Obviously, you want to spend your time wisely. It's pointless getting out of ladder B and getting out of work quick and rushing home and then watching Love Island all night, right? Unless that's something to do with your service or your product idea. You need to build a habit of getting stuff done to move the needle every day, you know, and you want to reduce overwhelm by chunking it all down and knock off each little step one by one. I've got an entire module, entire program on that inside TOF, and I've done many talks on planning and goal setting and all the rest of it. I'll do another boot camp in December on that as well. But you want to manage your times. You want to get into the habit of actually having the discipline to block in sections of your calendar to to actually get it done. You know, you can't just go home from work and then not do anything. That's going to make you feel worse, if anything. And then finally, I want to talk about imposter syndrome, because lots of people get this imposter syndrome where they feel they're not good enough. And forget the ideas, forget all the other stuff. It's just, I'm not good enough. And the only reason you get imposter syndrome is because you're looking up to someone, believe it or not. You are, you're fearing being judged by someone because you're looking up to them. And I'll give you kind of an example of why that is. If you was going to go and talk to a bunch of kids, you probably wouldn't have imposter syndrome. If you was going to go talk to a load of infants running around, you wouldn't have imposter syndrome. The reason you have imposter syndrome is because there's someone specifically in your mind that you are thinking are better than you in some way. And the reason you think they're better than you is because you're just blind to the downsides of that person. And you're not present and conscious of all the ways that you've got strengths over them in other areas of life. And when you can do that and you can identify the two, you start to see the downsides to them and you start to see the positives to you, and you balance it out and you neutralize it. And you bring them down a peg, you bring them down to your level, neutral. And when you can do that, you can start talking and you start having confidence and conviction in what it is you're passionate about, what you want to talk about, what you're inspired to talk about. The whole time that you feel that someone's better than you, you're going to have that. And the key is to get rid of it. And the best cure as well for that is just to do it. Jump off the cliff. Jump off the cliff and just do it. So there's going to be someone there. It might be your mum, it might be your dad, it might be a college friend, it might be an old partner, it might be an old colleague, it might be someone you look up to in some other way, but the only reason you're looking up to them is because you think in some way they're going to judge you because you see them as being better than you in one area. All right, but I promise you, everyone's equal. Everyone's equal, okay? So if they've excelled in something, you'll have a strength over them in some way as well, and you'll just be the same. Everyone's the same, all right? I'm going to be talking about this a bit more next week's podcast as well. I'm inviting Alex Seary, special friend of mine, onto the show. He literally runs a company called Shifts to Success, and he helps NHS and police and firefighters who are massively undervalued and massively under-rewarded to get out and start living life on their terms. So I'm excited for that. Definitely tune in next week for that. And I think that just leaves one thing, competition time. So let's have competition time. Where are we at? Competition time. So, competition time is where you win an awesome always free hoodie like this one. And in order to win that, you just have to be here chatting during competition time. And if you want to snapshot me now and post it on social to let me know you're listening, you'll win extra points. You will be mentioned next week. You'll be entered into the competition next week, and you get your chance to win. So that's all you have to do. Be here during competition time. Take a photo, post it on social, tag me, say what you thought of the show today. Even if you thought it was crap, that's up to you. But you still get bonus points for the competition. But anyway, the competition time this week is based on last week's winner, and it actually goes to someone who we've picked. They've been here every week. They've listened to all the podcasts, all the shows. They're constantly engaged in the always free wolf pack, if you like. So the winner this week goes to Katie Brennan. Well done. Thank you. You deserve it. You've been here. You've been a long-lasting supporter of the show. Hoodie will be on its way to you. All you need to do is reach out to admin@graystone.education. Email them your size and your colour, preferred colour, and it'll be on its way to you. Thank you very much. And hats off to Tony, who won last week as well. The always free wolf pack. So look, just final thoughts. Hopefully you got value from this. Look, many of you said this has resonated with you, which is awesome. Great show as always. Amazing. Excellent. We've got all the wolf emojis coming up now as well. Who'd have thought it, eh? Tony, you won last week. You need to go and let us know your size, mate, if you haven't already. I think you're about 8 foot tall, aren't you? My final thoughts. Don't overthink, right? Don't take more money from your job, take more time. Believe in yourself. Don't worry about reinventing the wheel. You have value inside of you. Everyone's winging it anyway. You are good enough, okay? And if you're watching this, you already know you're good enough. So until next week, guys, be who you want to be and be always free. Take care, and I'll see you then.